A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Each and every week, I have the pleasure of spending time to have a meaningful conversation with authors, speakers, global thought leaders, and C suite professionals. And today is no exception. It gives me great pleasure to warmly welcome Sushil Shamlal Wadhwa. He's a luxury lifestyle and travel influencer, passionate entrepreneur, health enthusiast, celebrations connoisseur, TV host, and growth advisor. Welcome, Sushil.
Thank you so much, Gautam. I'm really pleased that you've invited me for your show. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So, first and foremost, Sushil, I like to ask each of my guests, what is your personal why and your purpose,
So there's a couple of things. My personal why is obviously to make sure that I'm able to give the best the world has to offer to my family first, and
Yes.
then to also pay back to the society in whatever way I can. And that, you could say, is my personal why and purpose. And then I extend it further to my work when it comes to experiential marketing, events, celebrations. My personal why there is to make sure that every client that we work with has one of the most amazing experiences that they could have ever had. If it's a wedding for a social event, for example, the smile on their faces once the wedding is over and well executed is probably the best experience for me, or the purpose that I actually work towards with that. And when it comes to companies, once their stakeholders, clients, etc., are happy with the whole experience and they end up doing more business, that's for me a big purpose to achieve as well.
Fantastic. So, what I heard you say is be it happiness, bringing a smile to people's face, and adding value, starting with the family, then the
Correct.
community, and then in business in turn, and obviously the customers. So each and every person you interact with, starting from the inside out at home to the outside world, adding value, making a difference, and bringing a smile to the people you interact with. That's a fantastic drive and great purpose.
Thank you. Thank you.
So for when I look at your profile, I mean, you are an entrepreneur with multiple businesses. I'd love to learn a bit about your journey of entrepreneurship, if you could share with our viewers today.
Sure, Gautam. I was born in a family where my father's business has been restaurants. So I've been connected with the hospitality industry pretty much from the time I was a kid. And I got to become a very social person thanks to being that. Once I did my hotel management, I went back, I joined the family business. I started getting a bit bored because in the place where we lived, a city called Belgaum, my father
Right.
was a very famous man, still is, even though he's retired. And I used to be known as his son. And the ambitious person in me always wanted to reach a point where my father would be known as my father, than me as being known as his son. So I started my hand at entrepreneurship. One of my first ventures after joining the family business, I got married very early. Actually, I was 21 and married, and I just got out of college when I was 20 and a half. So my first venture was literally 2 months after marriage, where I started a range of food products, processed food products. It was a miserable failure. It took me a year to realize that, and after that, I packed it up. And then I got into a completely different line, which was about diesel generating sets, DG sets. And at that time, Karnataka, where I used to live, was experiencing a huge power shortage and crisis. So the generator sets became a huge success, and I was doing deals worth 10, 12, 15 crores, and we are talking about almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
So that was a huge, huge success, and that lasted for a good 3 years. And then on its own, there was like an economic collapse at that time, and the business just went out of air, and I eventually moved on from that. And then I decided to move to Bombay, looking for restaurants to start because that is what I was doing. And here's somebody whom I knew at that time, who was running a company that was doing parties on boats. And I was in touch with him to do restaurants. He instead offered me to join him as a partner in the boat party company. And I did that. And for about 3.5 years, from doing boat parties, we started getting queries for larger events on land. As we did those, we started getting queries for weddings. We did those. Then we had differences of opinion, so I decided to part ways and move on and started Platinum in 2002. And I would say
Okay.
that was my true calling. It's been 19 years now, and
Yes.
from 2000 to 2021, in fact, 2002 to 2020 has been very defining period, because 202 we started, and you can say 2020 COVID put our entire industry worldwide in a position that we had to restart.
Right.
So that's where I am right now. But in the last 18, 19 years, we've done events in 80 countries. We've
Wow.
handled more than 500,000 people through our events. We've done thousands of projects, be it corporate events, be it weddings, be it private holiday experiences in all these countries around the world. We became the first company in our industry, in the MICE industry, weddings industry, in the luxury travel industry, to get an ISO certification for all our processes. So a lot of learning happened along the way. Because of this, I ended up traveling to almost 78 countries in this period, which was
Wow.
also a beautiful learning experience. Individually, I was on the Asia Pacific board for Starwood Hotels for almost 3 years. So our advice would go down and filter down to almost 900 hotels across Asia Pacific in all luxury brands. So it's been a fabulous journey, you can say. We survived the subprime crisis in 2009, where we hit rock bottom and then we bounced back very fast. And I would say 2020, our business, not just our business, worldwide business of the event industry, travel, tourism, has again hit rock bottom. And now we are back to the phase of, we are out of the survival phase. Now we are in the revival phase. And I'm guessing another a few months and we should be back to thriving again. So I'm looking forward to that phase. But I use this downtime, as I would call it, or the free time, to actually think of what can I do new, what can I do different that I haven't done yet. And that is where my new venture, Vitalized Life Sciences, was born. And now that's a new venture that's keeping me busy in this whole downtime for the events business, but uptime for the health and wellness space. So that's been the journey of my entrepreneurship in a nutshell.
Fantastic. No, thanks for sharing that. And what I really appreciate, as we all know, that in every successful journey, there
Yeah,
are many times which are very tough. We say ups and downs in every journey. It's like the
yeah,
ECG of entrepreneurship to some extent.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
those learnings that you had, those deep learnings you had in your early part of your career before starting Platinum World Group,
Correct,
those became your asset, because you learned from those experiences, and
correct.
that gave you the confidence to then start this new enterprise, which obviously is 19 years, and it was thriving. I mean, I was part of the events business myself, so anything in the events and hospitality was something that we
Yeah,
really enjoyed. It's a very people-driven business. You get a chance to travel, different cultures, different
yeah,
cuisines also.
yeah.
But then came a time with the last 18 months, and that certainly made us press pause and reevaluate. And I like the way you summed it up when you said, it was, from survival to now reviving. And then obviously we're very sure that we'll be back thriving again. So,
So
and yes,
we came up with three word to sort of sum up this journey from April 2020 till probably April 2022. Let's say if I divide this particular 2 years into three phases, the first phase was just survive. And some
yes,
hard decisions had to be taken, some unpopular decisions had to be taken. But
right,
then if you have to survive, you have to survive. It's like when you're in an aircraft and, even the flight steward is giving you a speech that in case of turbulence, if the gas mask drops, first put it on your face before you put it on your child.
absolutely
Because if you survive, can you help your child and anybody else?
correct.
So we had to do that as an organization. And then the phase of revive. So survive, revive, and then thrive. So I would say now we are in the revive phase. And I'm
Fantastic.
hoping from either November this year or from April next year will be the thrive phase.
Sushil, it's prompting me to say we should have you write a book, which I'd love to publish, Survive, Revive, and Thrive by Sushil. So that could be a book title.
Why not? I would need a ghost writer though. I'm horrible at writing with all the computers nowadays.
It's one of our lines of business, so I'm happy to chat with you more on that, where we work with CEOs in terms of that. But would
Done,
love
done.
to. So coming to the events business, as we know, the events business has been probably one of the hardest hit businesses without any physical events, in venues and etc. But would love to hear of your journey in the events business leading up to the current times.
Correct. So, like I mentioned earlier, in the entrepreneurship journey, events happened by chance, not by design.
Yes.
I was a restaurateur as far as family business goes. My education was hotel management. Thankfully, hotel management did cover a lot of aspects of event management when it comes to themes and decor and food and drinks, venues and hotels, and all those things that I learned was extremely useful in my event management business. And when I started doing parties on boats,
Right.
that was like mini events. And gradually we moved into larger events, and then I figured out that globally there's this whole concept of incentives in the form of travel, incentive travel, and MICE industry also. The full form is meetings, incentives, conferences, events.
Right.
And then of course business events is another term for it, for corporate events. And I love traveling. It's something, I think it's in my DNA. And I thought, what businesses can I choose where I can travel the world, enjoy my work, and make money in the process as well? At the end of the day, you need money to survive. Any charity can only happen if you are making profits as a business. So,
Correct.
first purpose of any business is to make profits, and then second purpose is to enrich the society through philanthropy and social contributing to social causes. So this is I sort of pioneered the whole incentive travel business from India when I started in 2002, and that's the time it was just picking up, where
Right.
banks started taking their clients out. We did some of our first events globally were for Citibank, for Standard Chartered Bank, for Ernst and Young, Arthur Anderson when they bought over Arthur Anderson.
Right. Right.
So these
Yes.
things one thing led to another, and I really started enjoying that. And today, when I look back over the last 19 years, it's been such a fabulous journey to have done events in 80 countries. It's a huge experience. I think it's my travel has educated me a lot more than any degree in the world could possibly have. We did our first corporate event, Indian corporate event in a country like Mongolia, where very few people from India even end up going.
Right.
So
Right.
there's some wonderful venues, the kind of venues we've chosen, like we've done events on top of Mount Atlas in Switzerland. We've done events
Wow.
on the Eiffel Tower level 1. We booked out the entire Camp Nou stadium in Barcelona, which is good for 100,000 people. We booked it for 100 people. And we did an event in the middle of the stadium ground where the projection of the speaker was happening on the big screens of the stadium. We've done events in the safe deposit vault in Miami in a building called the Treasury. We've done events in the Versace mansion in Miami again at Ocean Drive, South Beach. We've
Phenomenal.
used we've used the presidential palace in Vietnam in Ho Chi Minh City for an event. We've actually done an event on the Great Wall of China, and we've served Indian food with a buffet on Great Wall of China. So it's been a fabulous experience, I would say, and I'm looking forward to this restarting again soon.
Yes.
Once the vaccination is full swing and COVID is under control.
No, I'm sure there'll be a boom in their industry. Everyone who's been sort of locked down at home the last 12 to 18 months, there's certainly excitement and aspiration to travel once again. So I'm sure there'll be at least 3 to 6 months where there'll be a sudden surge when things officially are safe to travel. But listening to your story of the traveling part, it was something that I was just inspired, and I could just visualize these exclusive venues. Across the world, you get to meet people from different cultures and taste different cuisines. It's something which is just enriches your experience of life.
Absolutely.
It's something that I really have enjoyed. The country that I visited, I really feel that that's where you actually is your deepest learning, is learning from other people and learning from travel. So
true evolution happens when you travel, I think.
Yeah. Great. One other thing I'd like to ask you is really your process, which I believe you have to identify new business ideas. When we're stuck in these current times, people were downsizing their businesses. People were feeling a lot of struggle and challenge. But whether it's a thriving economy or a challenging economy, we've got to really be open to new business ideas. So is
Correct.
there a process that you can share? What's your process to identify these new ideas?
Okay. I'll tell you the process I was following in the last 14 months. That
Sure.
itself, I've done a lot of trial and error and a lot of identification. So when COVID started from end of March, we went to lockdown in India. And by April or May, we were already in a situation where there were no hospital beds available. People are not getting admission. So the first process or the thought that came to my mind is, what is the problem that the world is facing? Identify the problem and then
Right.
try and identify a solution to the problem. Because at the end of the day, pretty much all big businesses have been built because they offered a solution to a problem that the world faced. Some of them by chance and some of them by design. So in my case, I looked at how can I bring ICUs and hospitals to home if there is no space in the hospital for people to get admitted. I
Right.
explored the home healthcare business very actively and in detail, but eventually I realized it is not something I was cut out for,
Sure.
because it's also something about relating and being able to passionately do that. So that if you're passionate about doing it, then you will do full justice to it. You will feel that there's not a single day of work that's going in. It's just a natural flow. There's a
Right.
book called Ikigai, right? Purpose. What's the
Ikigai, yes.
purpose of your life? So I'm not a very prolific reader. So now I've started listening to audiobooks instead of reading. It's a bad dependence on technology, but it still enriches you with the knowledge and wisdom that you're supposed to get. And sometimes a little better because the voice is going into your brain
Absolutely.
a little more effectively than just reading. So I sort of disposed. Then I thought of what was working at that time. People are not able to go out to shops and buy their groceries and vegetables. I live in a complex where they people start getting food trucks, not food trucks, vegetable trucks,
Yes.
and they could sort of set up like a pop-up store with their vegetable truck. So I
Correct.
said,
Correct.
this is something that's never going to go out of business. Everybody needs to eat.
Correct.
So I explored, can I do something in farming? Like hydroponic farming is the latest trend right now in agricultural farming, where you use half the water as compared to traditional farming, and you get double the output per acre as compared to double the farming, and a lot less usage of insecticides and fertilizers and chemicals. So it's almost organic.
Right.
Again, I
Right.
couldn't relate to the business. I couldn't see myself as a farmer. So I explored it, and I said it's a great idea, but it's not something that I see myself doing. And finally, because we all wanted to have immunity supplements to boost our immunity, because that seemed like the first line of defense against viruses and bacteria.
Correct.
And my
Correct.
daughter has difficulty in swallowing capsules and tablets. And then I just did some research on that, and I figured that 40% of the world population seems to have that problem, and the condition is known as dysphagia or dysphagia, depending on the way you pronounce it. And
Right.
then I
Right.
figured out what is the technology that people who have dysphagia can have their vitamins and supplements not in a capsule or in a tablet form. So there's something called oral dissolving strips, where you just keep the strip on your tongue or under your tongue and it melts. You don't need water. It just is like a Listerine mint strip. That's the same technology. So I went on and researched companies who could manufacture this for me. I found a good company who does that. And I went ahead and tied up and created my own brand. I said, let me figure out how I can create a range of health supplements, vitamins, probiotics made with absolutely natural products, natural active ingredients, not chemicals. And how can it be targeting a bigger audience that has a problem of swallowing, which is where Vitalize Wellness Strips, the brand that I've currently launched through Vitalize Life Sciences,
Yes.
was born. So that's my process of identifying a new business. Identify the problem, then find solutions, and then see if you relate with the solution, launch it.
Thanks so much, Sushil, for sharing that. And I really, appreciate the simplicity of it. But, at the end of the day, there are problems in the
Yeah,
world. Identify the solutions to those problems. But then most
yeah,
importantly, is it something that you resonate with to be able to create a business model? So you were wise enough to realize, okay, there were several problems. You found
yeah,
the solutions to them, but
correct.
you may not have resonated with those to actually take the plunge and go into those respective businesses.
Correct.
because you need to be engaged by it. And
Correct.
finally, you found the current business model which you shared, and it's
Correct.
so aligned to the very topics that are on top of everyone's mind. You ask the people, they think of resilience, my
Correct.
immunity, my health, and to
Correct.
found a product which is very aligned to what's on everyone's mind. I mean,
Correct.
even corporates are investing as health as a training and learning deliverable. Before it was something that you do in your personal time. Now we know personal and professional has been synergized in these times, that be it corporates, be it families. So, and again, another thing I acknowledge is that you said, people who don't find it difficult to swallow. So
Yes.
even with that, so I really acknowledge and appreciate this new initiative. In fact, it was the very initiative that caught my attention on social media when I saw several influencers sharing your product and the value that it's had in their lives for themselves and their families. So, congratulations on this new initiative. And I think it's something that will be, have a long-term journey. It's not just because of the current pandemic. It's something that is sustainable long-term. So wish
Correct.
you all the best with that.
Another point which I'd like to add to the process of identifying.
Yes.
Now, I would also like to identify a business that is scalable with no limits.
Right.
Because I realized in the service industry there are limitations to how much you can scale up. Like in the events business or any service industry, you have manpower involved and you have to be personally present to deliver the service.
Correct.
And there is only that many places you can be delivered. So the other objective that I had is that I should be able to help the world. I should be able to create a product that I'm creating for the world, not just for India.
Right.
So that was the other idea. So now with this product, I have a range that I'm developing now, which is going to be exported all over the world. And it's just 3.5 months that we've actually launched today. So we launched on the 24th of April. We went live on Amazon. Today, some of our products have become already on the way to become bestsellers on Amazon. So working very hard to make them the bestsellers instead of just becoming the bestseller. And that's where we're happening right now.
Fantastic. That's great. So we touched upon the last 12 to 18 months being a very challenging time where, work from home has been sort of the nature of business, the nature of our life. We've had to play multiple hats, be it as a parent, with the kids, to your health, to your business, to personal life, all work from home. Now, what opportunities and learning have you had on a personal level in this work from home over the last 12 to 18 months?
So I would say work from home has sort of permanently changed work from office, at least. Yes. Because we've realized to some extent that we don't need to travel, whether it is for 10 minutes or for 1.5 or 2 hours in case of some people, to go and work at office.
Correct.
You can literally start working where you are, especially in our line of work, where all we need is a laptop and a mobile phone and good internet connection, and you can start working. Also, what's important is, I would say, to be able to strike discipline, because working from home, if you don't have the discipline, then it's going to be a tough one. Because there's many days you'll be tempted to sometimes not get ready, not brush your teeth, not change, just sit in front of the laptop in your night suit and start working.
Right.
But it's important to have that discipline to be actually getting ready, because your mindset should also be fresh when you're on your system. Correct. And again, what's important to maintain discipline is starting and ending time, because otherwise you lose the whole work-life balance if you don't have a starting and an ending time. So I would say this has been some of the learnings. Of course, with 2 young kids in the house, especially my younger son, he tends to keep coming thinking that dad's at home and just sitting on the laptop and playing games probably. Right. So I have to also discipline him that, listen, when I'm on the laptop means I'm working. Don't disturb me at that time. Imagine I'm sitting in the office.
Right.
I would say that. But at the same time, I also believe that nothing can replace the power of personal human interaction and face-to-face meetings. I would say this can cover about 60 to 70% of the work you can do can be done through your laptop, through Zoom calls, through emailing, through video calls, etc. But there is a certain personal face-to-face interaction that cannot be replaced. And for that, you have to be meeting face-to-face. So those, I would say, would be work from home learnings for me. In terms of opportunities, I would say productivity for me probably has increased
Right.
because it saved me that much time of. Thankfully, I'm blessed because my office is not more than 10 minutes away from my home. But it's sort of lonely to go there and sit with nobody else being able to come. So I'm better off sitting at home.
Sure.
So that I would say has, and in terms of opportunities, I literally launched a whole new business sitting at home in the
Correct.
last, from I would say September till April was my whole period of registering for my FSI license, creating the brand, registering a new vertical, signing up and registering on Amazon, on Flipkart, getting a website made. Everything was done sitting at home.
Right.
And so the opportunity here is that you don't need to be having a certain environment like an office or a workplace to be able to create something new. You just need the will to do it. And of course, a laptop and internet besides the phone. So that I guess was another big learning for me.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing. I know you have invested a lot into the social causes. Could you share some,
Yes.
brief insights into social causes that you're involved in?
Yeah. So I'm very passionate about education because I think education makes a nation. If you see in this whole fiasco, whether it's China or if I just take India, Kerala today has the highest literacy rate. I think if
Yes.
India can also manage to get there. So what I'm really passionate about is how can I help more and more and more people across India, especially the underprivileged population. How can I help get their basic education in place so that they're able to read and write? Maybe everybody may not be cut out for doing advanced studies and degrees, but whoever is should have the opportunity to do it. Whoever is not should at least have the basics in place so that they can read, write, and develop vocational skills so that they can build a career with those vocational skills. Even if it's as simple as if I just look at the events industry and no other industry. Today, the events industry supports multiple other industries. If I just look
Absolutely.
at the decor aspect, in decor, there are people who design the decor, there are people who fabricate various elements of the decor, whether it's a stage, whether it's a chair, whether it's a table, whether it's tablecloths, whether it's floral decor, whether it's lights, so many things, whether it's a generator that goes on to light up those lights that light up your decor at events. If you just train people with vocational skills, then there's catering. In catering, there's people who cook the food, there's people who buy the raw vegetables, there's people who serve the food, there's hostesses and hosts who welcome people. There's so many elements there, and that's just the food part. Then, if I move on to the drinks part, there's bartenders who learn how to make drinks and mixologists. So there's so many employment opportunities that can be generated in that single industry.
Correct.
Now, you see globally, there's a whole big shortage of semiconductors. Now, if India can actually implement education at a ground level or grassroots level for semiconductor manufacturing, that can
Right.
generate a lot of employment and could make India the next semiconductor superhouse in the world as compared to China. So that's, I would say, my number one passion about being able to educate the nation because
Fantastic.
I think education will help make the nation a better place. And then the second is providing healthcare to everybody because COVID has made us realize that sometimes when the going is bad, even the richest of rich could not get beds and oxygen cylinders in a place like Delhi or Bombay with all the influence and all the might they had, which only means that even if we created large tents with hospitals and beds, there were no people to man them. So probably I would say again, being able to create the right healthcare infrastructure, starting from a grassroots level, starting from villages to towns to tier three, tier two, tier one cities, and also educating the ground force. Even if you just create enough nurses, like in villages, they have daimas who deliver children. Even if you have enough people learning the basics of healthcare, it's not that complicated to give immediate first aid to people and to take care of people who have fever. So I would say these two causes is something I'm passionate about.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, education and healthcare to me are, the two biggest assets. That's the best thing that we as entrepreneurs can give back to those who are not able to access education and healthcare. So I think that's absolutely fantastic initiatives. So when
Thank
it comes to the future young leaders, what would your advice be to them?
I would firstly say they must follow their passion, because I've realized if you don't follow your passion, you're doing a half-baked job. If you're chasing money, money will keep running away. Instead, I would say focus on chasing excellence and let money chase you. Attract rather than chase. So if you follow your passion, if you chase excellence, you don't have to chase money. Money will chase you. And of course, find problems that the world is facing and see if you can find a solution, and then see if you're passionate about it, and then can you be really good and excellent with it, and let everything else fall in place. What's another thing that I've been practicing a lot is the law of attraction, positive mindset, growth mindset, because that's something which has been much needed in these times when our businesses have been as good as shut down. People have lost jobs because of this. Everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong in this country and in this world. And how do you, despite all these adversities, find that good thing and that positive streak that you still be thankful for, and you don't let your mind get affected by the negative environment that's around? So personally, I have limited my news intake to just the headlines, and that too, if it's too negative, I just switch off from that. Not because I don't want to be aware of reality. I'm well aware of reality, but I don't want it to affect my state of mind. I want to keep my state of mind positive. Today, I'm blessed that I have a roof over my head. I have a healthy family. I have a good family. I have enough food to eat every day. I'm able to employ a few people whose houses are running thanks to our ability to be able to employ them, and thanks to them, our life is running smoothly. So these are the very basic positive things that I look for. And I also believe a lot in waking up in the morning and going through a little bit of meditation, and then also a lot of affirmations, so that I am able to mentally program myself to focus on what I want rather than get distracted by things that are not happening. So I keep thinking of thoughts of what I want in life and keep trying to push out thoughts that I don't want. So by virtue of that, I'm able to attract the right things in my life. I would think so.
That's a great summation, and I could resonate with everything you said. First and foremost, be absolute passionate about whatever career path or business you plan to do. That's most important. Have a positive mindset, and then obviously, I like the idea of the news. Actually, I stopped reading the newspaper since Jan 2009. I've not seen a newspaper or read the news at all.
Okay.
And it was thanks to a book called Yes Attitude, where they challenged you to not watch news for 30 days and see how that changes. And I just realized it was an unrequired habit to start your day and consume yourself with negativity.
Correct.
And if you're highly networked like yourself and me, we will obviously get access to information through our networks, what's relevant to us, but we're not consumed with negative information, which then becomes a part of our DNA, a part of our thought process of the day. Really appreciate that. And there's an author called Jack Canfield who wrote a book, Success Principles. Yes. And one of the principles that I really resonate, which covers what you shared now, is E plus R equals O. We are going to be surrounded by a lot of events in our lives, personally, professionally, some good events, some challenging events. But what's in our control is how we respond to those events. That will what will determine our outcome. I mean, this pandemic, you could respond negatively and be anxious and be stressed, and then your outcome is also going to be, negative. Or you could reframe it and say, let me get my health in order. What new can I start? What can I learn? What quality time with the family, and focus on all of those. And then your outcome is therefore much more positive.
In fact, a line that I also left an impression, which I saw in this last few months by this motivational speaker and author called Jim Quick. Life is C between the B and D. So life is basically, C is the choices between B, which is birth, and D is death. And life is all about the choices you make between your birth and death. And you might as well make it worth living and make the choices that make you feel happy.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I shared with you, Sushil, that I wrote my book, Breaking Bread.
Yes.
So I'd love to know, what does the term breaking bread mean to you, Sushil?
So breaking bread literally means you break the French bread, because it's really hard. Bread for me is something I try and stay away from, because It doesn't agree with me. But in a very literal sense, or like a generic statement, I would say my entire business has been built around breaking bread, because hospitality events is all about dining together, socializing together.
Correct.
And when we are breaking bread together is when a lot of deals are happening, a lot of business is happening. So, in your sense of the world, I think it's probably what makes this world go around, and what makes commerce and business happen, and also relationships going.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly, we built our father and son family business the last 20 years, purely breakfast, lunch, dinners,
Yeah.
coffees with like-minded people over meaningful conversations.
Yeah.
And, and then built the businesses over that where ideas are shared, etc. So thank you so much for sharing that.
I'm looking forward to receiving the book, though. I would love to read it.
Absolutely. I'll surely send you a copy shortly.
Yeah.
So, Sushil, as we wrap up our valuable time that we've had today, I thank you for this meaningful conversation. It's been an inspiration to learn of your journey, your successes, your challenges, and how you've really inspired those who've had a chance to sort of listen to your story. Any closing comments or words you'd like to share as we wrap up?
I would say, in closing, I would say people have to be mentally prepared and welcome whatever life throws at you. I would say in the last 1 year that COVID and this lockdown has brought upon us, I started cutting my own hair, for example, because all salons were closed. And I just took a haircut today by myself. And I've realized that we don't need so much. It's our desires and wants that make us buy more clothes, make us buy expensive shoes and watches, and many other things. Our needs are very simple, but our desires and wants are unlimited. So if they can find and strike the right balance, and like I said, control when the going is tough, control your expenses, whatever is not required, cut it out. When the going is good, do not cut on expenses. Go ahead and let people thrive on the money you spend in the economy, because that's how the wheels of the economy turn, is when you spend. But when you're not earning enough, that time you just have to hold yourself back for a temporary period of time, and don't let that affect your state of mind. Stay mentally positive, stay COVID negative, stay happy, and stay prosperous, and stay vitalized.
Fantastic. What a great summary. And thank you so much. I feel the summary is less is more. And that's been an opportunity we have today from this experience you've had over the last 12 to 18 months. Thank you so much, Sushil, for your valuable time, contribution, and ideas. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to staying closely connected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gautam. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.